Hello, folks. This story was sent to me by a subscriber and is intended for educational purposes only. Thank you for watching. 1200 micrograms. LSD. The day my reflection went rogue. I had always been curious about pushing the limits of my mind. So when a friend offered me a tab of LSD, promising it was strong, I decided to go all in and took 1200 micrograms. It was a bright Sunday morning, and I was alone in my apartment, determined to ride this wave solo. I told myself to stay calm and observe whatever came my way, no matter how weird. About an hour in, the walls began to melt like wax candles. Colors bleeding into one another like a surreal painting. I was mesmerized by the swirls of neon blues, pinks, and greens pulsating rhythmically, syncing with the bass line of some imaginary cosmic music only I could hear. But things took a sharp turn when I caught sight of my reflection in the mirror. At first it was just my usual reflection, but then it blinked independently. I froze, eyes wide, wondering if I was imagining it. But no, the reflection winked at me and stuck out its tongue in a cheeky grin. Well, this is new, I muttered to myself, heart pounding with a cocktail of excitement and dread. The reflection beckoned with a finger, and before I knew it, it stepped out of the mirror, materializing into a fully three-dimensional version of me, but not quite. This doppelganger was wearing my clothes, but had a mischievous twinkle in its eyes, and a grin that promised trouble. "Hey there," it said, voice like mine, but with a sly undertone. "Ready for an adventure?" I hesitated, but then, intrigued, nodded. The next moments were a whirlwind of chaos and hilarity. My reflection, let's call him Echo, took me by the hand and dragged me into a dimension where the laws of physics were replaced by the rules of comedy and absurdity. First, we found ourselves in a room filled with talking furniture. The sofa sang show tunes. The coffee table recited Shakespearean sonnets, and the lampshades danced like disco balls. Echo laughed heartily, joining the lamp's funky moves, while I tried to keep up, but kept tripping over invisible banana peels. Then the scene shifted. We were now on a roller coaster that twisted and turned through clouds made of cotton candy and raining glitter. Echo screamed with delight, throwing his hands up while I clung to the safety bar, simultaneously terrified and thrilled. The ride ended abruptly when we slammed into a giant floating rubber duck that quacked out cosmic riddles. "Answer me this, traveler," the duck boomed. "What weighs nothing but can sink? Ships?" Echo looked at me, smirking. I shrugged. "Time." "No, close enough." The duck quacked, and we were flung into another scene. Suddenly I was shrinking. Tiny, smaller than a flea. Echo chuckled as we explored the microscopic universe inside a single grain of salt on my kitchen counter. Here, the salt was a sprawling metropolis, bustling with crystalline citizens who communicated through flashes of light. We made friends with a group of neon bacteria that invited us to their glow-in-the-dark rave. It was the weirdest, most bizarre party ever, complete with electronic beats and shimmering stalactites of salt hanging from the ceiling. As the rave ended, Echo suddenly grew serious. "You ready for the final challenge?" Before I could answer, we were whisked away to a courtroom made entirely of jelly. The judge was a wise old avocado, with spectacles perched precariously on its pit. "You stand accused of taking life too seriously," it declared in a grave tone. "Help!" I protested, but Echo whispered, "This is your chance to let go." The trial proceeded with ridiculous testimonies. A loaf of bread claimed I never enjoyed toast enough. A cactus accused me of being prickly with myself. Even the carpet filed a complaint for being walked on too harshly. Finally, the avocado judge looked at me with kind eyes. "Your sentence: laugh more, dance more, and never forget to be weird." Echo winked and handed me a glowing ticket labeled "Permission to be absolutely ridiculous." Then, with a snap, we were back in my apartment. My reflection returned to the mirror, giving me a final cheeky grin. "See you next trip," it said before fading away. I sat down, heart pounding, mind swirling with colors and laughter. The trip slowly faded, but the message stuck. Life is too short to be serious all the time, and sometimes your reflection knows best. Ever since, whenever I see my reflection, I smile, wondering if it's inviting me to another adventure in the weird and wonderful mirror world.